The stars looked different from the observation deck of the USS Vanguard. Captain Greg Mitchell stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the unfamiliar constellation patterns of this distant region of space. After 20 years in Earth Space Forces, he still felt wonder when facing the unknown. But today, that wonder mixed with tension. "Captain, the Axione vessel is approaching," said Lieutenant Amy Peters from her station. "They're following the agreed course." Greg nodded. "Maintain yellow alert status. Let's be welcoming but cautious." This was humanity's first official diplomatic mission beyond the solar system. The Vanguard, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, carried representatives from all major Earth nations. Their mission: establish peaceful contact with the Axione Federation, a coalition of 7 advanced alien species. Dr. Olivia Reeves joined Greg at the window. As the ship's top xenolinguistics specialist, she had spent months studying the language samples sent ahead by the Axione. "Nervous, Captain?" she asked. "Only a fool wouldn't be," Greg replied. "We're making history today, for better or worse." "The linguistic structures of their communication suggest a highly organized society," Olivia said. "They value order above almost everything." The massive Axione ship came into view. It dwarfed the Vanguard with its crescent shape and glowing blue energy patterns across its hull. Unlike human vessels with their practical, industrial designs, the Axione craft looked almost artistic. Lieutenant Commander Alan Frost, the ship's security chief, stepped onto the observation deck. His expression was serious as always. The Mars conflicts had left him with both physical and emotional scars. "Security teams are posted as discussed," Alan reported. "Armed but discreet." Greg nodded. "Remember, everyone, we represent all of humanity, today." The first meeting took place in the Vanguard's conference chamber. The Axione delegates were tall, with iridescent skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved. Their 4 eyes, too large and too small, blinked independently. They wore elaborate robes with symbols that Olivia had identified as rank indicators. The lead Axione, who called himself Ambassador Zex Tool, bowed slightly. "We bring greetings from the 7 worlds of the Axione Federation," Olivia translated. For the human delegation, though most wore translator earpieces calibrated from the language samples. Greg stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, we welcome you and look forward to peaceful relations between our peoples." The initial discussions seemed promising. The Axione spoke of trade, cultural exchange, and shared scientific missions. They appeared impressed by humanity's rapid technological advancement. In just over a century, humans had gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. But as the day progressed, Olivia noticed something strange. The Axione used subtle linguistic shifts when discussing certain topics. The same patterns she'd noticed in their transmitted language samples when they described subordinate species in their federation. That evening, during a private meeting in the captain's quarters, Olivia shared her concerns. "I think they're using diplomatic language reserved for lesser species," she said. "There are micro-expressions when they discuss partnership that don't match their words." Alan Frost nodded. "My team has noticed they're particularly interested in our weapon systems. They ask roundabout questions about our defensive capabilities." Greg frowned. "Let's increase security but keep it subtle. We don't want to appear hostile if this is just a cultural misunderstanding." The next day, the Axione requested a tour of the ship. As Greg showed them the non-classified areas, Ambassador Zex Tool asked increasingly specific questions about Earth's military capacity. "Our understanding is that your species has experienced constant warfare throughout its history," Zex Tool said. "How many warships do you maintain?" Greg answered carefully. "We maintain defensive forces proportional to our needs. Like your people, we prefer diplomacy to conflict." The ambassador's skin briefly flashed a deeper blue. "Of course. Diplomacy is the way of advanced civilizations." That evening, the humans hosted a formal reception for the Axione delegation. As servers circulated with food and drinks, Greg noticed one of the Axione delegates missing. He tapped his communicator. "Security, we're missing one delegate. Count shows 11 instead of 12. Alan's voice came through clearly. Already tracking, Captain. Jones and Martinez are following. 10 minutes later, Alan's team intercepted the missing Axioni attempting to access a restricted computer terminal near the ship's defense systems. When confronted, the alien attacked the security officers, demonstrating strength far beyond human capacity. It took 3 officers with stun weapons to subdue him. Greg confronted Ambassador Zextool in a private chamber, away from the other delegates. Your associate was caught attempting to steal military data, Greg said, struggling to keep his voice level. This is not the action of a peaceful diplomatic mission. The ambassador's skin turned a dark purple, a color they hadn't seen before. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. Captain Mitchell, you misunderstand the nature of diplomacy, Zextool said, dropping all pretense of friendly relations. Diplomacy is what advanced species offer lesser ones before integration. Your species has potential as a protectorate, but you are not ready for equal standing. Greg felt cold anger rise. We came seeking friendship between equals. There are no equals in space, Captain. Only predators and prey. Your species is too young to be a predator. Then you've wasted your time, Greg replied. Humanity will never accept protectorate status under any species. The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You misunderstand again. It is not an offer. The Axioni Federation has already decided. Earth will be peacefully integrated or made an example of. Those are the only options diplomacy provides you. Before Greg could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain, Alan's voice shouted through the comm. The Axioni delegation has activated some kind of weapons. We have casualties in sections 4 and 7. The ambassador moved with shocking speed, pulling a hidden device from his robes. A pity. Your species showed such potential. Greg ducked as energy crackled from the device. The shot missed him by inches, burning a hole in the wall behind. He lunged forward, tackling the ambassador as Alan burst through the door, weapon drawn. The next few hours passed in chaos. The Axioni delegation fought their way back to their shuttle, killing 7 crew members before escaping. The Vanguard pursued but couldn't match the alien vessel's speed. In the medical bay, Greg stood by the beds of the wounded, his face grim. Dr. Reeves, treating a burn on her arm, looked up at him. What now, Captain? She asked. Now we return to Earth, he said. And we tell them that diplomatic words mean nothing without the strength to enforce them. The Axioni are coming, not as friends, but as conquerors. As the Vanguard limped home, Greg knew humanity's innocence about the galaxy had ended. The stars no longer represented wonder and exploration. They were now points of light hiding potential threats. Humanity had reached for the stars with open hands, seeking friendship. Now those hands would need to form fists. 6 months after the USS Vanguard returned with news of the Axioni betrayal, Earth was a changed world. The hopeful era of peaceful space exploration had ended. In its place grew something harder, something born of necessity. Director Karen Hayes walked through the underground complex of Earth Defense Force Intelligence Headquarters. The facility had been built in a hurry beneath the Rocky Mountains, far from major population centers. Karen's steps echoed on concrete floors as she made her way to the main situation room. Status report, she said as she entered. The large room was filled with screens showing various Earth cities and orbital installations. 3 more confirmed infiltrations overnight, said her deputy, Jeff Boyd. He pointed to red dots appearing on a world map. London, Sao Paulo, and Nairobi. That brings the total to 27 known Axioni agents on Earth. Karen frowned. The Axioni were masters of infiltration. Their biology allowed them limited shape-shifting abilities. They couldn't perfectly mimic humans, but they could come close enough to pass casual inspection. And the colonies? She asked. Mars Colony reports unusual activity near Olympus Base. Europa Station has gone silent. We can't tell if it's just communications problems or something worse. The door opened and Major Paul Rivera entered. His uniform was dusty and dark circles showed under his eyes. His special operations team had just returned from capturing an Axioni agent in Buenos Aires. The interrogation is complete, Paul reported. It confirmed what we suspected. These are advanced scouts preparing for a larger force. Karen led them to a private conference room. On the table lay photographs of the captured Axioni. In its natural form, with iridescent skin and 4 eyes, it looked even more alien than the diplomatic delegation had. "What did you learn?" she asked. Paul activated a recording device. The agent revealed that the Axioni considered diplomacy a tool for managing what they called developing species, basically anyone less advanced than them. They were never interested in equal relations with humans. Karen wasn't surprised. And their timeline? Within a year, they plan to have enough agents embedded on Earth to disrupt our defense systems from within. Their main fleet is already moving toward our solar system. The door opened again and Dr. Lisa Warren hurried in. The scientist's red hair was tied back in a hasty ponytail, and excitement showed on her face despite the grim circumstances. "I've got it," she announced. "A reliable detection method." She placed a small device on the table. It looked like an ordinary smartphone, but with additional sensors attached. It measures micro variations in heat signatures and electromagnetic fields. The Axioni biology produces patterns distinctly different from humans, even when they're shapeshifted. Karen picked up the device. "How close do you need to be?" "About 3 meters, Lisa said. "We're working on extending the range, but this is enough to screen people entering secure facilities." "Start production immediately," Karen ordered. "Priority distribution to government buildings, military installations, and spaceports." The device was a breakthrough, but Karen knew it wasn't enough. Earth's governments still bickered among themselves, unable to unite under a common defense strategy. Some nations refused to believe the threat was real, calling it hysteria. Later that day, Karen met with the Joint Defense Council, representatives from Earth's major military powers. The meeting quickly descended into arguments. "The United Americas will not commit additional resources without guarantees of shared technology," said General Williams. "The Eurasian Coalition cannot divert more manufacturing capacity," argued another representative. "Our economies are still recovering from the climate restoration projects." Karen slammed her hand on the table. "While we argue, the Axioni are infiltrating every major city on the planet. They're not debating strategy. They're executing it." The meeting ended with minimal progress. Walking back to her office, Karen was joined by Paul. "They don't understand the threat," she said quietly. "Most people don't want to," Paul replied. "It's easier to pretend we can still solve this peacefully." In her office, Karen received a priority message from one of Earth's outer research stations. The small base on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, had detected unusual energy signatures approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit. "Scout ships," Paul said, looking at the readings. "Probably mapping our system defenses." Karen made a decision. She activated a secure communication channel to a frequency few knew existed. "Admiral Daniels," she said when the connection established. "It's time to activate Ghost Fleet." Admiral Eric Daniels had been called paranoid 3 years ago when he proposed creating a secret military fleet, hidden from public knowledge. Now his foresight seemed prophetic. "The Ghost Fleet has been ready since the Vanguard incident," he replied. 50 ships, fully crewed with volunteers who've been training. In the asteroid belt. We can deploy within 48 hours. "Do it," Karen ordered. "But stay hidden. Observe and report only for now." That night, Karen couldn't sleep. From her apartment window, she watched the lights of Washington, D.C., and wondered how many Axioni moved among the humans below, preparing for invasion. Her secure phone rang. It was Lisa Warren. "We've got a problem," the scientist said, voice tight with stress. "The detection devices are showing Axioni signatures in place we didn't expect, including inside multiple military command centers." "How many?" Karen asked, dread building. "At least 60 high-level infiltrations worldwide. Director Hayes, they're much further along than we thought." Karen closed her eyes briefly. "Implement Protocol 7 immediately." Protocol 7 was the emergency replacement of all command. Staff with pre-vetted officers who had been kept in isolation. It would cause chaos and confusion in the short term, but it was the only way to ensure the chain of command remained human. The next morning, news channels worldwide reported on the Military coup occurring in several nations. Unable to explain the real reason, governments issued vague statements about security threats. In her emergency bunker, Karen met with the remaining trusted leaders of Earth's defense forces. Major Rivera's team had captured 3 more Axioni. Agents overnight. The interrogations revealed disturbing information. The main Axioni fleet will arrive within 2 months, Paul reported. Their vessels include at least 20 ships larger than anything we've built. And the Ghost Fleet? Karen asked. Admiral Daniels reports they're in position, but even with our most advanced technology, they're outmatched 3-1. Dr. Warren spoke up. The captured Axioni had this. She placed a small device on the table. It's a quantum communicator. They've been receiving instructions from their fleet even from this distance. Karen picked up the device. It might be their first real advantage. Can we use it to send false information? Possibly, Lisa said. We're working on it. As the meeting ended, a junior officer rushed in with an urgent message. Director Hayes, we've lost contact with the lunar colony. All transmissions ceased 10 minutes ago. Karen felt the weight of 4 billion human lives on her shoulders. The silent invasion had begun, and humanity's response would determine whether Earth remained free or became just another conquered world in the Axioni Federation. It's time to show them humans don't surrender easily, she said. Send word to Admiral Daniels. Ghost Fleet is authorized for combat operations. The real war was about to begin, and Karen knew diplomacy was no longer an option. Humanity would have to fight or die, and they would fight with every trick, every resource, and every drop of the stubborn will to survive that had defined their species since they first looked up at the stars. Admiral Eric Daniels stood on the bridge of the EDF Phantom, the flagship of humanity's secret Ghost Fleet. Through the main viewport, he watched as his ships moved into formation. 50 vessels of various sizes, all equipped with Earth's most advanced technology. For 3 years they had trained in secret, hidden among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. Status report, Eric ordered. His second-in-command, Captain Leah Wright, looked up from her console. All ships report ready, Admiral. Combat systems at full capacity. Eric nodded. The Ghost Fleet had been his idea, a hidden force created for the day when diplomacy failed. Many had called him paranoid. Now those same critics were desperately calling for help as Axioni forces pushed deeper into the solar system. The lunar colony is still dark, Leah said, and we've lost contact with 3 of the 5 Mars settlements. Eric studied the tactical display. Red markers showed confirmed Axioni positions. There were too many of them, advancing too quickly. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's best hope, but even Eric knew they were outmatched. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth, said Communications Officer Ben Rogers. It's Director Hayes. Karen Hayes appeared on the main screen. Even through the digital connection, Eric could see the exhaustion on her face. Admiral, the situation has escalated, she said. We've confirmed Axioni forces have established a base on the far side of the moon. They're using it to stage for a full Earth assault. My fleet is ready, Eric replied. But Director, you should know we're outnumbered and outgunned. I know. That's why I'm authorizing the deployment of the new weapon systems. Eric raised an eyebrow. The experimental systems designed by engineer Samantha Kelly were powerful but untested in actual combat. Are they ready? He asked. They have to be, Karen answered grimly. Samantha assures me they'll work. After the transmission ended, Eric called his senior officers to the strategy room. The ship's AI projected a 3-dimensional map of the solar system, showing the positions of both human and Axioni forces. The Axioni expect us to defend Earth directly, Eric explained. That's what any rational military would do, but we're not going to do that. Captain Wright looked confused. Sir? We're going to hit them where they don't expect it, their command structure.
Engineer Samantha Kelly joined them, bringing up technical schematics on a secondary display. With her dark hair pulled back and eyes intense with focus, she pointed to the new weapons systems. The Axioni operate on a strict hierarchy, Samantha explained.
Each battle group is controlled by a command ship with a unique energy signature. Our new targeting system can identify and track those signatures. Eric nodded. In simple terms, we're going to cut off the head of the snake. The plan was daring. While Earth's conventional forces kept the Axioni occupied, the Ghost Fleet would slip behind enemy lines and target their command ships. Without direct control, the Axioni battle groups would be thrown into disarray. As the officers filed out to prepare their ships, Samantha stayed behind with Eric. "There's something else you should know," she said quietly. Commander Grant's scout ship made a discovery. Commander Jason Grant was the captain of the EDF Shadow Fox, the smallest and fastest vessel in the Ghost Fleet. For weeks, he had been conducting deep reconnaissance missions into Axioni-controlled space. "What did he find?" Eric asked. "The Axioni have a critical weakness," Samantha replied. "They can't function without their command structure. They don't have the concept of individual initiative like humans do. Their soldiers literally cannot make decisions without orders." Eric smiled for the first time in days. "That's exactly the advantage we need." The Ghost Fleet moved out under stealth protocols. Their advanced cloaking technology, another of Samantha's innovations, made them nearly invisible to Axioni sensors. They bypassed the main Axioni forces and headed directly for the command ships lurking behind the front lines. On the bridge of the Phantom, Eric watched as they approached the first target, an Axioni command vessel coordinating the attacks on Mars colonies. "Weapons range in 60 seconds, reported the tactical officer. "All ships maintain stealth. Prepare to fire on my mark," Eric ordered. The Axioni ship was massive, nearly 3 times the size of the Phantom. Its surface glowed with the same blue energy patterns they had seen on the diplomatic vessel months ago. It sat confidently in space, protected by a screen of smaller warships. "They don't see us," Leah whispered. 50 seconds to firing position. The tactical officer counted down. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir, we've been detected. Axioni defense systems are activating." Eric remained calm. "Proceed as planned. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta." The Ghost Fleet dropped, their stealth cloaking, and accelerated toward their targets. Axioni weapons fire filled space around them, brilliant streaks of energy slicing through the darkness. "Target locked," called the weapons officer. "Ready to fire." "Execute," Eric ordered. The Phantom shuddered as it launched Samantha's special. Weapons, targeted EMP devices designed to disrupt the unique energy signatures of Axioni command ships. The projectiles weren't particularly destructive, but they didn't need to be. They only needed to break the command link. 3 of the devices hit the Axioni command ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the blue energy patterns flickering across its hull stuttered and went dark. "Direct hit," shouted the tactical officer. "Their power systems are failing." On the tactical display, Eric watched as the smaller Axioni vessels surrounding the command ship suddenly began moving erratically. Some drifted off course. Others fired weapons in random directions. "It's working," Samantha said, her voice filled with satisfaction. "Without the command ship, they don't know what to do." Similar reports came in from other Ghost Fleet vessels. Across the system, Axioni command ships were going dark, leaving their battle groups in chaos. But the victory was short-lived. As Eric watched, the Axioni adapted. The remaining command ships pulled back, surrounding themselves with even more protective vessels. They were learning. "Sir," said Communications Officer Rogers, "we're receiving reports from Earth. The Axioni have launched their first direct attacks on our planet. New York, Beijing, and Lagos are under bombardment from orbit." Eric's jaw tightened. They had hurt the Axioni, but not enough. The battle for Earth had begun in earnest. "All ships regroup," he ordered. "We've shown them we can hurt them. Now, we need to show them we can stop them." As the Ghost Fleet regrouped, Eric received an unexpected transmission. It was from Commander Grant on the Shadow Fox. "Admiral," Jason said, his face tense with excitement. "We've discovered something you need to see immediately. Something about the Axioni that changes everything." "What is it, Commander?" "Sir, the Axioni aren't just hierarchical in their military. Their entire species fears disorder and chaos more than death itself. And humans, Jason's face broke into a fierce grin. Humans are the most chaotic species they've ever encountered. For the first time since the conflict began, Eric felt real hope. The Axioni had superior technology and numbers, but humanity had something they might not be able to counter: unpredictability. "Return to the fleet, Commander," Eric ordered. "I think it's time we showed the Axioni why diplomats could never speak for humanity. Only death can do that." General Catherine Mason stood before the world's remaining military leaders in the underground war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Outside, the war for Earth continued. 3 weeks had passed since the Axioni began their direct assault on the planet. Major cities around the world lay in ruins. Millions of civilians had died. Yet Catherine's expression showed determination, not defeat. "Conventional warfare isn't working," she stated plainly. "For every Axioni ship we destroy, they bring in 3 more. We cannot win by traditional means." The gathered leaders looked grim. Representatives from the United Americas, Eurasian Coalition, African Alliance, and Pacific Federation sat around the large table. Many joined by secure holographic link from hidden bunkers around the world. "What do you propose, General?" asked Admiral Yuri from the Eurasian forces. His hologram flickered slightly. Catherine activated the room's display system. Images appeared showing various historical symbols of death from human cultures: skulls, reapers, crossbones. "I propose we implement the Reaper Protocol," she said. Murmurs spread through the room. The Reaper Protocol had been theoretical until now, a psychological warfare strategy so extreme that many considered it too radical to approve. "The Axioni fear disorder and chaos more than death," Catherine continued. "Commander Grant's intelligence from the front lines confirms this. Their entire civilization is built on strict hierarchy and predictability." She brought up new images. Axioni prisoners reacting with horror to seemingly random actions by their human captors. "Dr. Vincent Cole has been studying their psychology," Catherine explained. "They literally cannot process unpredictable behavior. It causes them psychological damage." Dr. Cole stepped forward. A thin man with glasses and nervous hands, he was Earth's foremost expert on alien psychology. He had spent weeks interviewing captured Axioni. "The Axioni have 7 sacred rules that guide their entire civilization," Vincent explained. "The most important is that death must be orderly, predictable, and meaningful. Random or chaotic death terrifies them at a cultural level." Catherine nodded. "The Reaper Protocol exploits this fear. Instead of trying to win by conventional force, we embrace chaos. We stop fighting like a traditional military and start fighting like death itself." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're talking about psychological warfare," said the Pacific Federation general slowly. "I'm talking about survival," Catherine replied. "The Axioni expect us to fight in ways they understand. Instead, we will become the embodiment of their greatest cultural fear." The debate lasted hours. Some leaders argued the approach was too extreme, that it abandoned military honor. Others saw it as their only hope. In the end, necessity won out. The Reaper Protocol was authorized. Commander Zach Murphy received his new orders with a raised eyebrow. His Special Forces team had been fighting Axioni troops in the ruins of Chicago for days. "We're supposed to do what?" he asked, reading the instructions again. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Kelly Rodriguez, looked over his shoulder. "Paint skulls on our faces and vehicles? Leave unusual arrangements of objects at attack sites? This seems weird, sir." "Those are our orders," Zach replied. "Apparently some egghead psychologists think it will scare the aliens. They implemented the changes feeling somewhat foolish. Zach's team painted death symbols from various human cultures on their combat armor. They modified their attack patterns to seem random and unpredictable. After each strike, they left behind strange arrangements of objects, human skulls positioned to face the direction of their next attack, playing cards showing the death card, burning candles arranged in cryptic patterns. At first, they saw little effect. Then 3 days later, something changed. Zach's team was preparing to ambush an Axioni patrol when they intercepted alien communications. "They're talking about us," said their communications specialist. "They're calling us Deathwalkers or something similar in their language. They sound scared." The ambush proved remarkably effective. The Axioni soldiers froze when they saw the skull-painted humans emerging from hiding places. Some actually fled rather than fight. Similar reports came in from around the world. Axioni forces were becoming increasingly disturbed by the new human tactics. Their rigid command structure couldn't adapt to the psychological warfare. In the orbital battle, Admiral Daniel's Ghost Fleet embraced the Reaper Protocol with creative enthusiasm. They painted massive skull symbols on their ships' hulls. They programmed their vessels to emit specific electromagnetic frequencies that the Axioni found disturbing. They attacked using seemingly suicidal maneuvers that defied conventional space. Tactics. Status report. Eric requested on the bridge of the Phantom. Captain Leah Wright looked up from her console with the first smile he'd seen in weeks. "The Axioni fleet is pulling back from Earth orbit, Admiral. They've abandoned 3 attack positions and consolidated their forces." Eric nodded. "They don't understand why we're not afraid to die. It terrifies them." The turning point came 1 month into the Reaper Protocol. Samantha Kelly developed a new weapon, a device that didn't destroy Axioni ships but instead transmitted human death rituals and symbols directly into their visual systems. When deployed, it caused entire Axioni crews to abandon their posts in panic. Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, Catherine Mason met with Dr. Cole to review the progress. "Intercepted Axioni communications show increasing fear," Vincent reported. "They don't understand why we embrace death imagery. Their commanders are struggling to maintain control of their forces." Catherine nodded. "And our new offensive?" "Commander, Murphy's forces have reclaimed most of North America. The African Alliance reports similar success. The Axioni are retreating worldwide." For the first time, Catherine allowed herself a moment of hope. The Reaper Protocol had transformed humanity's forces from conventional military to something the Axioni couldn't comprehend. Warriors who treated death as an ally rather than an enemy. In space, the Axioni fleet commander Vextavar faced a decision. His ship still outnumbered the human vessels, but his crews were becoming increasingly unstable. The humans fought in ways that violated all principles of civilized warfare. They embraced death, used it as a weapon. His officers reported nightmares, psychological breakdowns. "The humans don't fear dying," his second reported. "They act as if death gives them strength instead of weakness." Vextovar had never encountered such a species. In the Axioni Federation, all civilized beings feared death and sought order. These humans were different. They turned chaos and mortality into weapons more powerful than any technology. He made his decision. The Axioni fleet would withdraw to their staging area beyond Neptune. They needed time to understand this enemy before continuing the war. Perhaps the High Council would have guidance. On Earth, Catherine received the news of the Axioni retreat with cautious optimism. "They're pulling back, but they haven't given up," she told the world leaders. "This is only a temporary victory." "But it is a victory," Admiral Yuri pointed out. "The first real one we've had." Catherine nodded. "Yes, and now we need to press our advantage. The Reaper Protocol has shown us the way forward. The Axioni fear our relationship with death. It's time to use that fear to end this war." She pulled up the specifications for a new mission, a bold plan that would take the Reaper Protocol directly to the Axioni leadership. "It's time," she said, "to show them why humanity answers to death, not diplomats." The grand hall of the Axioni High Council glowed with soft blue light. Tall windows showed the 3 moons of the Axioni homeworld rising over an alien landscape. The architecture was perfect in its symmetry, a reflection of the order the Axioni valued above all else. Ambassador Jack Bennett adjusted his plain black suit and checked the small skull pin on his lapel. After 3 years of brutal conflict, he stood ready to represent humanity in the first official peace talks with the Axioni Federation. The path to this moment had been paved with blood and fear. "Remember the strategy," said Commander Nicole. Adams quietly beside him. Once a decorated combat officer, she now served as Jack's military advisor. Her uniform was simple but bore the now infamous skull insignia that had become humanity's calling card in the war. "I remember," Jack replied. "No concessions, no compromise." The massive doors at the end of the hall slid open. 7 Axioni Council members entered, their iridescent skin shifting through various blue and purple hues. They moved with precise, identical steps, another display of their love for order and symmetry. High Chancellor Vex Toral led the group. His larger size and deeper skin colors marked him as the highest-ranking Axioni present. 3 years ago, he had ordered the invasion of Earth, confident in his species' technological superiority. Now he approached the humans with visible caution. "Ambassador Bennett," the High Chancellor spoke through a translator device. "The Council welcomes you to Axion Prime." Jack did not bow or show any traditional diplomatic respect. Instead, he simply nodded. "Chancellor Vex Toral, humanity is here to discuss your surrender." The Axioni delegates froze, their skin colors darkened in what Nicole recognized as shock. "Perhaps there is a translation error," Vex Toral said after an uncomfortable pause. "We invited you to negotiate peace terms." Jack's expression remained cold. "There is no error. Humanity does not seek peace, we demand surrender." The audacity of the statement hung in the air. By all conventional measures, Earth should have been destroyed years ago. The Axioni still possessed greater numbers, more advanced technology, and controlled most of the galaxy. Yet here stood a human, demanding their surrender. "This is highly irregular," said another council member. "Our understanding was that Earth desired an end to hostilities." "An end will come," Jack replied, "when the Axioni Federation acknowledges humanity's sovereignty and withdraws from all human-claimed territories." Vex's Toral gestured to the seats arranged around a circular table. "Let us discuss this properly." Jack and Nicole followed the Axioni to the table. Nicole noticed how the aliens kept their distance, eyeing the skull insignias with visible discomfort. As they sat, Jack placed a small object in the center of the table. It was a human skull, carved from white stone. The Axioni delegates visibly recoiled. "Why do you bring death symbols to peace talks?" asked Vex's Toral, his translator device conveying his distress. "Because humanity answers to death, not diplomats," Jack said simply. "Your species uses diplomacy as a tool to manage lesser beings. We recognize only one ultimate authority: mortality itself." Nicole watched the Axioni carefully. Their reaction confirmed what Earth's forces had learned during the war. The Axioni had a deep cultural fear of death as a concept, especially unpredictable or chaotic death. "Your species embraces death," Vex Toral observed. "This is why our strategies failed. We did not understand." Jack nodded. "Humans have always lived alongside death. We don't fear it the way you do. We accept it. Sometimes we even welcome it." As the talks continued, Nicole silently activated a small device in her pocket. Throughout the Axioni homeworld, hidden devices came online, placed there by covert human operatives in the months before this meeting. Each device was positioned near an Axioni cultural or religious site. Hours passed. The negotiations grew tense. The Axioni offered limited autonomy for Earth but insisted on Federation oversight. Jack refused every compromise. "You still don't understand," Jack said finally. "We are not asking for your permission to exist. We are informing you of how things will be." Vex Toral's patience ended. "Ambassador Bennett, your position is unreasonable. The Federation still possesses sufficient military strength to continue this conflict. We offered peace out of compassion for your species." Jack smiled for the first time since entering the room. "Commander Adams, please show the Council our current position." Nicole activated the main display in the chamber. It showed a map of the Axioni homeworld, with dozens of blinking red dots at key locations. Their cultural and religious centers. "Those are human explosive devices," she explained calmly. "Each one is positioned at a site your people consider sacred. Each one is powerful enough to destroy the site completely. The Axioni Council members froze in horror. "This is barbaric," whispered one. "This is war," Jack corrected. "Or rather, this is how war ends. We could have simply destroyed your homeworld. Instead, we offer you a choice." He stood and walked around the table, his steps deliberate. "Humanity has learned much about the Axioni during this conflict. We know that your species fears disorderly death above all else. We know that the destruction of your sacred sites would cause cultural trauma, lasting generations." Nicole watched the Axioni delegates with clinical interest. Their skin had paled to an almost white shade, an emotional response she hadn't seen before. "What do you want?" Vex's Toral asked finally. "Full recognition of Earth's sovereignty, withdrawal of all Axioni forces from human territory, reparations for the damage caused by your invasion, and a formal acknowledgement that humanity is not subject to Axioni authority now or ever." The council members conferred among themselves in their native language. Their debate seemed heated, with colors flashing across their skin as they argued. Finally, Vex's Toral turned back to Jack. "These terms are extreme, but we will accept them." Jack nodded. A wise decision. As formal documents were prepared, Nicole noticed one of the younger council members studying the stone skull with reluctant fascination. "Why do humans not fear death as we do?" the Axioni asked her. Nicole considered the question. "Because we know it's inevitable. We prefer to live fully, rather than fear endlessly." The Axioni seemed to struggle with this concept. "But without order in death, how do you find meaning?" "We create our own meaning," Nicole replied. "That's what your species never understood about us. We don't need order imposed from above. We forge purpose from chaos." When the agreement was finally signed, Jack and Nicole prepared to leave. The Thanatos Doctrine, as it came to be called, was established, a new principle of interspecies relations. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through superior technology or numbers, but through its unique relationship with mortality. As they walked back to their ship, Nicole noticed a small delegation of another alien species watching them with interest. They were tall, feathered beings with 4 arms. "Who are they?" she asked their guide. "Representatives of the Myriad Collective," the guide explained nervously. "They wish to establish diplomatic relations with your species." Jack and Nicole exchanged knowing glances. Word was spreading through the galaxy. Humanity had defeated the mighty Axioni not with overwhelming force, but with psychological warfare based on their comfort with death. "Tell them we would be happy to meet," Jack said. "But remind them that Earth doesn't send diplomats to negotiate our existence. We send warriors who understand that all beings answer to death in the end." As their ship left the Axioni homeworld, Nicole looked back at the alien planet. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" Jack nodded. "They'll honor it because they fear us in a way they've never feared any species. Not because of our weapons, but because of our minds." He touched the skull pin on his lapel. "We showed them that humanity answers to death, not diplomats. And that's something they'll never forget."